So, from my personal point of view, yes, there may be more jobs. We don't know. You don't know.
No.
Just like the guys that want to stay, they can't tell me that people are going to lose their jobs. So, nobody knows. How do you see the country in 10 years' time if we decide to leave?
In 10 years' time, it has every opportunity to become altogether more prosperous. After the 2-year period, after we vote to leave, then the worst case scenario is that trade tariffs of approximately 4% will be imposed by the World Trade Organization. And so when we export to Europe, the customers in Europe will have to pay 4% to import our goods, and conversely, when we import from Europe, customers in the UK will have to pay a 4% import duty. This goes to the Treasury, and because we import more than we export currently, then it leaves our Treasury better off by some margin. So it's got to be good for the Treasury, and if it's good for the Treasury, then hopefully then austerity measures can be reduced somewhat as a result of that. So from that position, in 2 years' time, then we're in a position to grow, I believe. And as I said earlier, business will always succeed despite politicians. We always find a way to work things out, and always change creates opportunities for business to exploit. Now, the change may not be within Europe, but it'll be outside of Europe, and that's where we can look to grow our business. When you look at the GDP of the United Kingdom and Europe and the United States, then the growth is approximately 2–2.5%. If you look at the top performing countries of the world, and there are 30 of them above the United Kingdom, experience growth rates of up to 16%, then we're not growing as quickly as the rest of the world. Even China, whose growth rates have diminished somewhat, and they're now only about 7 or 8%. If only we could have 7 or 8% growth, then that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? I have the opportunity to visit China from time to time, and I tell you, it's an industrial powerhouse. When people say that if we leave the EU, we'll lose all of the investment, then the investment wasn't come into the UK because of our membership of the EU anyway. All of the investment in the world has been going to China for the last 10 or 20 years. That's where the investment has been going. It hasn't been going to Europe. It certainly hasn't been coming here. And we need to be looking to trade more freely with countries like China if we're going to guarantee our prosperity in the future.
Okay, Craig. So Craig of the Vote Leave campaign, thank you. But just one last message for the Swindonian readers as to why they should vote Leave on June the 23rd.
Well, what I would say to the Swindon people is that if you currently worked for an employer who was making bad decisions, who was financially irresponsible, and you could see the sales in your company were falling, if you see the order books were not quite so full, and you got a feeling that you were employed by a failing business, then you may well take the decision to leave that employment and seek new opportunities. And when I look at the EU, I see exactly that scenario. I see an undemocratic, bureaucratic organisation that's financially irresponsible, that's made a number of catastrophic decisions. It hasn't brought prosperity to the people within the EU. If you look at the situation in Greece, then there's a default on its way again shortly after the referendum. If you look at the youth unemployment in Portugal, Spain, Italy and those countries, and you want to see 50% youth unemployment here in the UK, then and that worries you, then it's time to apply the same logic. And I think the UK should leave the EU and seek new opportunities, because it looks to me like a failing ship.